Hi, my name is Chandan and I'll be talking to you about one of our new findings in neuroscience, which can have a serious implication in emotion learning and cognitive neuroscience in general. And I'll be talking to you about degeneracy in neuromodulatory neural circuits. Degeneracy of the neural circuits means the ability of the neural circuits to produce the same output despite being structurally different. We'll come to know about it in details, but have a look at this video. In our day-to-day life, our behavior that keeps on changing. Sometimes we become lazy, sometimes we become focused, sometimes we become sleepy. But what is the reason for this change in behavior? We do not know, but then we can still look into the brain, because brain is the such an organ of the body which controls almost all parts of the body, including the emotions. The activity patterns in the brain, it shows the behavior. Sometimes when this guy is supposedly lazy, he might be having such an activity pattern in the brain. These red ones are the brain areas which are active, and blue ones are the areas which are not active. And when this guy becomes a little bit focused, the activity pattern in the brain that changes, and there can be some kind of connectivity between these between various regions. This is just for an example. And when this guy becomes a little bit more focused, the activity patterns in the brain that may get completely changed, and we can have a completely new neural circuit dynamics found in the brain. So these neural circuits, they are responsible for a particular type of behavior that we have. But then, what is the cause of this change in the neural circuits? The cause is the neuromodulators, basically. For instance, if you add some peppers of these neuromodulators to this lazy guy's brain, his activity patterns might change. And if you add a little bit more of these peppers, this neural circuit dynamic may change completely, and the activity patterns in the brain may change, and his behavior may be changed completely. He may become more anxious in nature. We'll come to know more about these neuromodulators, but what is the source of these neuromodulators? Where do they come from? One of the sources is the brain itself. These neuromodulators, for instance, dopamine and serotonin, they are mostly found deep inside the brain. So these are the two neuromodulators which affect the emotions. They have a huge correlation with emotions. So these guys, serotonin is found in the raphe part of the brain, and it affects almost all parts of the brain. Similarly, dopamine, one of the nucleus where dopamine is found is ventral tegmental area, and it affects many parts of the brain. So these guys, they have a huge implication in emotions. Um, for instance, if you see if there is a decrease in the transmission of serotonin in the brain cells, then the human being may be totally unhappy, become entire body may become totally sad. So these guys have a lot of implication in the emotions. These neuromodulatory brain circuitry can be compared to an orchestra, where the music is the brain activity. These musicians are the neurons or the brain cells, and the guy who is controlling these neurons or the musicians to produce a particular music is the neuromodulators. Because the neuromodulator, they do not get directly involved in changing the brain activity, but they indirectly modulate the neurons to control the brain activity. Coming back to our studies, we focused on two different brain regions, as we saw in the previous picture, that we were focusing on dorsal nucleus and ventral tegmental area, and we do not know, till now it is not clear how these two areas are connected with each other. We took only a few brain cells from these brain regions, serotonin, glutamate, GABA, and here dopamine and GABA, and we want to see how they interact with each other. Basically, we wanted to see how serotonin and dopamine interact with each other. In the next slide here, we are showing the summary of several different experimental findings on the neural activity profiles during the time of reward and punishment learning. So this is how the dopamine fires when you give some reward, unexpected reward, and there is a sharp peak in the activity profiles of dopamine. Similarly, other neurons also have different types of activity profile as shown here. And these experiments are basically conducted on mouse. A few experiments are conducted on the human beings. In our study, we wanted to see whether we can replicate these experimental findings in our computational model. And also, we wanted to see whether by changing the connectivities, the strength and different types of connection, whether we can produce the same activity profile leading to the same neural circuit dynamics or neural activity pattern which leads to the same behavior. This was done for the first time, and we saw that we could produce some 12 different models which were stable enough to produce the same activity profile leading to the same neural circuit dynamics, and which in turn leads to the same behavior. So the take-home message is there can be degeneracy in neuromodulatory interaction level, providing stable influence in target brain regions leading to a particular type of behavior. Thank you.